Hey guys, I'm back and today we are doing a spooky repot, or I think I'm gonna just call it a midnight repot because it's a little bit before midnight, and last year I did it a little bit, or it was during midnight as well, and I filmed until maybe like 3 a.m. I think. And yeah, I think the midnight repot is a little bit more appropriate, especially since today I am not going to be talking about anything paranormal, spooky, and not. He's attracted to my light. Anyway, so yeah, welcome to, unfortunately, the one and only midnight repot this year. I did say that I was going to do 2. I was planning originally to release a spooky repot on Sunday and then also Halloween night, but I have a little bit of a medical thing going on right now. I think I might have arthritis, which really freaking sucks. But basically for the last 2 weeks I have just been aching and in pain, and no medicine that I've been taking is really bringing me any relief. Basically my left shoulder and just all down here is in a lot of pain, and so even just doing plant stuff is kind of a pain in the butt right now. So I'm trying to get that figured out and get it sorted. So in terms of sitting here for multiple hours doing repots, I just physically don't think that my hands could take that. So we're doing 1 spooky repot. Unfortunately, again, I'm not going to be telling any scary stories like I did last year in terms of like paranormal things that happened to me, only because I don't feel like I have enough that are worth telling that can fill an entire repot video. But I do have some very messed up dreams. So this year we're doing basically a nightmare / sleep paralysis edition. And it's going to be a tipsy midnight repot because I do need some, what's the word? I do need some courage, some liquid courage to get through tonight. So let's just get started. I have about 10 plants that need to be repotted, and I think I have just a handful of nightmares that I want to just talk to you guys about or tell you guys about. And maybe at the end I can tell you, just depending on how much energy I have or how much time we have left, I can tell you some of the spooky things that have happened to me specifically in my apartment. And if not, we can maybe save it for next year. You can see that I have the world's largest cup of wine. It's Malbec, which is my favorite, and by the end of this video there's probably going to be soil and pond and who knows what in here. This is some kind of succulent that I got from Jing, and it was really small at first. It was like maybe down to here, and all of this has grown. I don't know if you guys can see, but there are some parts of this plant that are quite wrinkly, and oh, like right here. This thing was shriveled to bits last week, and it took so long for it to unshrivel, and it hasn't completely plumped back up, and I don't think it will, but it's in a really teeny tiny 2-inch pot, and I just don't think that this soil is really holding any moisture anymore. So I do want to get it into no drainage. I am going to keep it in soil. I'm going to do like more of a sandy mix, which I'll show you, but I just think that it's time for this guy to get into a larger vessel. Not that much larger, just something slightly larger. And this is one of the remaining succulents that I have left in my collection, and I just love it so much. It's just so funky, and they look like little, I don't know what they look like, to be honest. It reminds me of like lithops. What are those plants that look like little begindas? Anyway, we will start off with one that is probably, I think, the least scary to me, but I have been having this dream since I was really young. I think the first time I had this dream, I would have been about, I think like maybe 13 or 14. I think I definitely was at least in middle school. So yeah, 13 sounds about right. In this dream, I am in some sort of like corn, not really a cornfield, because like it's not really tall, maybe like just a field of just like tall grasses or wheat. I can still see everything above it, but it is like a taller grass, and I'm just walking and walking, and it's dark, And in the beginning of the dream, I'm calm, I'm okay, I'm not panicked or anything. But then I start hearing to my left and right things sort of just like running through the brush, and I can see the grass is sort of like moving in the wind, but it's just like on my left and right, and they just keep coming. And so I start to feel a little bit more like nervous. I look behind me and I just see in the distance this person with like this white cloak on. I call and I'm like, you know, can I help you? Like, who are you? And this person isn't talking back, but is just walking closer towards me. Suddenly, this like figure starts bolting towards me, like running full speed. So I just start running, and this is the part where suddenly it's like the floor is like really muddy, and I can look and I look ahead of me, and there's this house with like these big bright red doors in front of me, and I'm running and I'm running, and it seems like no matter how far I've traveled, I'm not getting any closer to these red doors, and the figure behind me is getting closer and closer. As I'm running, it's like, it's almost that sensation when you try to like run while you're in water, like in a swimming pool or something. Like, you know how you sort of like are just dragging along and you're not going that fast, and you feel like your legs are really heavy. So that was the sensation that I was having. That's the sensation that I was having. And then suddenly like the mud starts getting really sort of thick and my feet are getting stuck in the mud. This figure again is getting closer and closer, and it's just that feeling of like, just like dread. And I'm slowly but surely getting closer to the red door, and as I reach for the door, I feel the figure behind me just grab me from the back, and whenever I would turn around, I would wake up. And I've had this dream since I was little, or since I was young, and I have never been able to get to the doors, like open the doors fully. But it's that same, I know that it doesn't maybe sound very scary when I'm telling the story, but you know that feeling when you were younger, or maybe even now, when you're like home alone or something, and you go to like turn off all the lights and you're gonna go to your room, and you're like walking to your room sort of in the darkness, and then you feel like someone's behind you, so you start going a little bit faster and a little bit faster, and you feel like the faster you go, the closer that this figure is getting to you, or this something is getting to you. It sort of is like that, but then just feeling so helpless because you're trying to run as fast as you can, but your feet aren't letting you move. So yeah, I've had that dream since, you know, I was young, and I've always kind of wondered like if I could get past that point where this person or this figure grabs me and like actually get through the doors. I've just always wondered like sort of how that dream would continue, because again, it's one of those that like it always sort of ends the same way, always the same outcome, and no matter what I do in the dream, it's always the same. And I know that there are people who like they have the like this recurring dream to the point where like they know they're dreaming, but I don't know, I've heard that it's like almost impossible to know you're dreaming, but I've definitely had dreams where I knew I was dreaming, so I don't really know. But yeah, it's one of those dreams where like no matter how many times I have it, I never know that I'm dreaming, and it's just as scary every time. There's a plant that I got for my birthday from my friends that has been a wish list plant for a long time, and it came in this really sandy soil. There's a lot of pumice in it, there's literally sand, there's bark, a little bit of like stuff that you would put in pond. It's super coarse and it's really nice. So I think I'm going to use that for this, and I'm just gonna stick it in this little pot here. You guys can't see anything. So the next one is another dream that I've had since I was really young, maybe even younger than 13. I think maybe the first time I would have had this dream was when I was around maybe even 9 or 10. And in this dream, it starts off really sort of peaceful and like somber and sort of just dreamy, like literally dreamy, like in a good way, right? Like I'm very relaxed. I'm laying on the desert floor, and the reason I know this is because like in the distance, all I can see is just sand and dirt, and below me is a very, very coarse, hard surface, sort of like when you have like mud or dirt that has been like sort of dried severely, and then, you know, it's got like all those cracks in the floor. Like I can sort of feel it on my arms and stuff. I'm laying in this desert, and I'm almost like in a trance-like state where it feels surreal. I don't know why I'm laying there, but all I know is that it just feels really good, and I almost want to just like become part of this entire scenery. Like I never want to leave. I just want to melt into where I am, and it's just like this amazing feeling, right? So I'm laying there, and then all of a sudden in the sky is sort of like a orangey, dusty brown color, sort of like when there's like a forest fire and the sky gets all you know, hazy and stuff. So I see above me there's this little dot, and I can't make anything of it, but I sort of hyper focus on it. I really don't know how fast time is moving at this point, because it sort of feels like I'm there forever, but this dot starts to get larger and larger to the point where I can make out that it's like this red blanket. I can see it sort of moving in the wind as it comes closer to me, and again, I don't feel any sort of weird senses. Like I don't feel scared, I don't feel anything. As it gets closer to me, I realize that I'm not moving. Like I can't move. I'm completely still, and I almost can't even feel my body anymore. The only thing I'm moving is my eyeballs at this point, and it's like I'm trying to actively think in my brain, like how do I move my arm? How do I move my hand? And it's almost like that sensation of, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but like, you know when you overthink when you're eating and you forget how to swallow, and the food is like stuck in your throat, and you're like, I forgot how to swallow, and you feel like you're gonna choke. So it's that same feeling where like I have this sort of panicked thing that comes over me, but I am just actively trying to remember how to feel my limbs, how to move them, and I can't. It's a total blank. Before I move on, this guy is potted, and hopefully he's happier in here. I am gonna water because those roots were very, very dry and sad, and I do want to see if I can plump this guy up just a little bit. I will be inoculating this one as well. I'm going to be using Great White. And if you guys are wondering why I decide to use TPS for some plants and then Great White for others, I just sort of made the decision that in my plant room I'm using TPS, and outside of my plant room I'm using Great White. So the only exception is my Philodendron Glorious and my Philodendron Majestic, which are now living out in my living room. And the reason that I'm making that exception is because I initially started inoculating them with TPS when they were still in the plant room, so I just kind of want to continue on with that. This gnat is going to drive me bananas. You can follow the measurements. I'm too freaking lazy to do it, so I'm just going to take the smallest little bit using this plant ID tag thingy, and I'm just going to put a little bit into here and call it a day. Oh, it smells like mushrooms. I think I might need to chop this guy soon. Might be fun to like propagate it and like sort of have it become like a bigger, bushier thing, because I mean this looks fun, but I think once it gets super long, I'm not really gonna know what to do with it. Maybe we'll save that for when it warms up again. I bet you by the summer, this thing is gonna be like out to here and like just dragging on my windowsill. All right. One down. The next one that I'm going to be doing is a Seedling from Amanda. This is the Pap crossed with, I think, a Wonder Boy X or something like that. This one's still in moss, and the reason why I haven't repotted this one yet was because this leaf was coming out during the time I was repotting a lot of my plants from her, and I just didn't want to disturb it while it was emerging. But now that we sort of have a good opportunity, I think it's time now. Okay, so continuing on with the story, yeah, just that sense of like not being able to move my limbs and just panicking. And if you guys know what a panic attack feels like, you know that it's awful and you literally feel like you're dying. It feels almost like what I would imagine like a heart attack to feel like, plus like asphyxiation, which is just terrible. Yeah, it's not a good feeling. So I'm starting to feel that as this red blanket is coming closer. As a reminder, I've had this dream multiple times throughout my childhood and even like adulthood. I haven't had it in a while, but it's been a recurring dream for like decades or over a decade, definitely over a decade. It always happens either one of two ways. It's not like my other dream where it's always one outcome. There is a version of this dream where I am able to move my limbs, and whenever I manage to get some sensation over something, whether it be my toe or my finger, and I'm able to just like twitch it a little bit, I can wake up and I'm no longer in my dream. But the terrifying part of this version of the dream is that it always ends up in some form of sleep paralysis. The sleep paralysis is freaking terrible, and it usually happens like before you fall asleep fully or when you're sort of waking up out of like sleep. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't done a lot of research on it, but my sleep paralysis always happens when I'm waking up out of a dream. What I feel is awake. I feel like I'm awake, like I've woken up from my dream and I'm back in my my bedroom or whatever. But I, yeah, again, cannot move my body at all. And the really scary thing about sleep paralysis is that more often than not, and this has pretty much been the case with me like 100% of the time, you feel like there's this weight on your chest that's so heavy, that's like crushing you, and you can't breathe. So you're choking and you're like sputtering, trying to like gasp for air, and you're just like laying there like you're strapped down, like you're just so heavy. There's nothing you can do to sort of wake up or wake up out of this state. But with this dream specifically, and why it terrifies me so much or has been so terrifying for me, is because if I do wake from it, I end up in this state of sleep paralysis, but in my right ear I can hear this whispering going really fast, like a very fast whisper, like right directly in my ear, and it's pretty loud, and it's just saying you're gonna come with me, you're gonna come with me, you're gonna come with me, you're gonna come with me. It's just repeating, and the whole time like my eyes are open, I feel like I'm sweating and I'm gasping for air, and the only way I can snap out of this is if I twitch again, if I can move a muscle, move a finger or anything. If I can just feel a sense of my body, then I just snap out of it and I just take a big gasp of air, and I sort of like come back into like full consciousness. But it is like the most terrifying feeling, to the point where you just don't even want to sleep anymore because you feel like it's going to happen again and you just don't want to experience that. So sometimes you'll try to not sleep, or you'll try to like not go into a deep sleep. So when I was having these dreams when I was younger, and I think the peak of it was when I was like around 18 to maybe 21 or something, I would set alarms through the night so that I was waking up like every hour and a half, because I didn't want to like fall so deep into sleep and dream. But when you operate on that type of sleep, it's just always interrupted, you are freaking miserable. So I'm going to be transitioning this seedling to pon, and hopefully it takes, because I will be very sad if it doesn't. I'm just using a pot that's this big. It's going to probably outgrow it pretty fast, but I want to be able to keep an eye on the roots and also make sure that there's not too much water being held in the vessel, so I want to go a little smaller. So anyway, going back to the dream, I think one of the most terrifying parts about this part of, or this version of the dream, is that whispering in my ear. It's almost like it's a whisper, but it's almost like it's yelling in your ear, and you can feel like the air, like the heat coming from this person's mouth or something, like they're right next to me in bed. It's just so scary. It gives me goosebumps. You know, I'm always like wishing that I could sort of turn my head to see if there's someone like laying next to me or something, but I can never see anyone, and it just feels very, very like just evil and bad. And you know, I'm not religious at all, and I don't believe in like demons and heaven or hell. I don't believe really in any of that, but times like this, I feel like it's either I have just a freaking crazy imagination, or I don't know, maybe there are like very, very evil energies that lurk around us. But whatever that thing that whispers in my ear is, it's not friendly, that's for sure. I always think about this often at night, where I just hope that I don't have this dream. And luckily it's been kind of a while since I've had this dream at all. I think the last time I had this dream was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, so it's been kind of a while, but still, it's just one of those things that you just don't want recurring. So the other version of this dream is going back to, I'm back in the desert, and this blanket is just getting closer and closer to me. So if I'm not able to move my limbs or like regain control of my body, the blanket eventually drapes over me on the ground and just presses really, really hard against my face, and then I start suffocating. And you know, you have those thoughts in your head before, you know, when you think that like this is the end, and you're just thinking of all the people in your life, and it's a terrible feeling, you know, having to experience this time and time again. But essentially, as I'm in the blanket and being suffocated, I always manage to twitch. I always manage to move a finger, blink, or do something that kind of reminds me that I am in control of my body. So once I twitch, then I wake up. And I'm not choking, I don't have sleep paralysis, I'm just fully awake from my dream. But it's like either way, no matter which way this dream goes, I'm always being suffocated either way. If you asked me like what my preference is in terms of which way I would prefer, in like the most screwed up way, I would prefer being suffocated by the blanket, just because experiencing sleep paralysis and hearing that like whisper in my ear is just it has to be one of the most awful things I've ever experienced in my life. And the fact that I've experienced it multiple times is just, it's not preferable. So he's done. Hopefully he takes to the transition okay. That root, I had 2 roots that I was working with that were really nice and juicy and long, and I'm hoping that's enough to kind of sustain this guy. And I also did, as you see, inoculate it with great white. So the next one I'm going to be doing is this, I don't know, it's some sort of Rhipsalis. I think I might be able to throw the name up because I might have thrown the name up when I first acquired this plant. It's not a trigona, but it's it's similar. It sort of resembles it a lot, especially in like the smaller little arms and straps. But it's grown a lot since I acquired it, because yeah, the original pot, they pretty much had all rotted. I had to just cut them and start over from scratch. So yeah, I did lose I think I lost maybe 2 or 3 cuttings of this when I brought it home, but it has just multiplied by a lot and it's getting a lot bigger. I know that it doesn't look like much now, but I started with cuttings maybe this small. So the fact it's even sort of like trailing over or starting to trail over now is pretty impressive. But it has severely outgrown this little vessel that it's in, and it's just time to get it out. So we're gonna do sort of a rescue mission today. This pond is really, really compacted and it's super stuck in there. So I have filled it to the top with water, and I'm gonna just try and loosen the pond a little bit. And hopefully we can get it out of here without breaking too many roots. Although, I don't know, I'm not really scared of Rhipsalis. Like, I just find that they root so easily. Like if you guys watched in my last video, I have a Rhipsalis that literally started to root just by, like, it broke off and then it was sitting on top of the soil and then it just started rooting. That smells terrible. Oh. I do not like the smell of pond that's been sitting for a long time. Okay, we're just gonna try and oh my god, that stinks. That smells terrible. I don't know why I did that. I have unleashed the demon within. Oh, it smells even worse on the inside. This can't be just me, right? It's probably the no drainage thing. But you know, it's worth it. My gag reflex is going. Okay, so the next dream is it's not a recurring dream. This is just one dream that I've had before that sort of stuck with me. So in this dream, I am at my grandma's old house, and they used to have this really, really big house in San Jose, like on the hill, and it was a beautiful house, but at the same time, it was like kind of creepy. It was like all marble floor, and it was just always really cold and just like echoey. Like you could hear everything in that house, especially at night. And I used to live there with my grandma and some of my cousins. So it takes place in this house, and in the beginning of the dream, I'm just walking in the door. I'm walking in the front door. It's what sort of looks like it could be like the early morning, maybe around 4 or 5 in the morning, because it's not completely pitch black. Like I can see outside the windows, like the light is starting to start to light up the sky, but it's still really, really like dark. So I walk in, I hear a woman saying help, like she needs help. And I don't know exactly where the voice is coming from. So I'm just kind of walking through my grandparents' house, and it's just like eerily quiet. It's eerily cold. It's definitely not a welcoming feeling in my grandma's house. I remembered in the dream not wanting to be there, but you know, I could hear a woman saying that she needed help. Of course, I'm not just going to ignore her. Oh, this thing's so small. Oh, 1 second. I'm actually going to opt for a much larger vessel, so I'm going from this to that, which is a really big jump, but at the same time, these roots are like way too big for this tiny little thing. And I think that if it had more space, it could definitely sort of stretch its little legs a little bit more. I'll just have to be more careful with the water levels on this one in the meantime. Anywho, I'm walking through the house, I'm searching all of the bedrooms. I can still hear this voice being sort of echoed in the house, just don't know where it's coming from. And I do end up finding her in what would have been my uncle's old bedroom. And you basically walk through the door and there's a window at the far end and then like sort of a sliding closet on the right hand side. So I see a woman who looks like the woman that used to take care of me as a kid. She was like our nanny or something. Really sweet woman. I remember like asking about her a few years ago. I wanted to know how she was doing, but I really liked her. And the reason that I say that I think it was her is because she had like gray hair, gray and white hair, and she always had it in this really neat slicked back bun. And that's exactly what I saw looking at this woman. She was kneeled down on her knees and she was sort of swaying back and forth, and she was looking into the closet on the right side. So I start calling her name, who I think is my caretaker, and she doesn't respond, and she's just saying, help, like help me. And I essentially was like, you know, I'm here, like what do you need, like what's wrong? And then she goes quiet and I start to approach, and then she starts saying, you're a bad girl. You've been a very bad girl. I'm like confused, like what? You know, like why are you saying that? And she's still swaying back and forth. I look over her shoulder and then she looks up at me. She looks over her right shoulder and looks up at me, and she has no eyes and no teeth. And I just, I fall back and I'm scared, and she just starts hysterically laughing. And I remember trying to run out of the room. I get to the staircase, I'm bolting down the staircase, and she's at the bottom of the staircase. And I can see her and she's waiting for me, but I can still hear a woman or her above me in that bedroom laughing hysterically. So now I feel like she's like multiplying, like there's multiple of her. And at this point I can't really tell if it's my caretaker because she has no eyes, she has no teeth, she looks completely not human, obviously. I run back up the staircase. I run into what would have been my cousin's old bedroom, and I close the door and I just kind of go into the corner of her bedroom, sort of behind her bed. I'm just like scared to death, and I don't really know what to do at this point. I don't know how to get out of the house. And then I hear the doorknob rattling. I just close my eyes and I hear like my head is in my knees, and I hear her opening the door, and I'm not looking, I'm still not looking, my head is in my knees, and I can hear her coming closer and closer, and then I eventually wake up. The reason that I remembered this one so vividly is because this one happened not too long ago, and as soon as I woke up from this dream, I wrote it down in my phone and just tried to like write down every last detail that I remembered. And I do this pretty often, where I'll have a dream, and whether it's like because I want to tell like my friends about it or like my family about it, I like to just document my dreams because some of them are just so like bananas and out there. And I think I have really weird dreams when I eat dairy. I think it's like I'm lactose intolerant, and I had pizza for dinner and my stomach is so large right now and I'm in so much pain because I'm so bloated. But when I have dairy or any kind of dairy product before bed, it's like, ow, it's like almost guaranteed that I'm gonna have some sort of fucked up dream. I think this one is gonna do just fine in here, and I think it's gonna be a lot happier. And I think I'll have to water it much less for sure because, oh my gosh, you guys, in this little thing, I was watering like sometimes 3 times a week. This thing loves water. It can hold a lot of water in here, and I find that it actually uses the water quite fast. It's not like other Rhipsalis where you water it and it kind of holds in there for a long time, like my Rhipsalis paradoxa. That one dries out very fast. Like when I water it, it really takes in all of that water, but it holds it in like the little, what are these called? These are not leaves. Straps? Hands? Arms? We're gonna call them arms. In the Rhipsalis paradoxa and even the Rhipsalis paradoxa minor, I find that it holds the water in their arms for a really long time without showing you that they're thirsty. Whereas this one will be pretty dramatic when it's dry, and then when it hydrates, it looks a lot different. But it like depletes the water really, really fast. I don't know if it's because it's a significantly faster grower than my Rhipsalis paradoxa and the minor, but I just know that I had been watering this thing a lot, and you can see sort of the parts that like had dried out because I just let it go bone dry. So I'm even surprised this thing is alive still, to be honest, because with how sort of irregular I was watering it, like I would only notice that it was really dry when all the things were shriveled up. It's been pretty resilient and it's been pretty forgiving. So this repot was super, super necessary. Ow, my stomach. All right, we're gonna do 2 Hoyas next. So this one is a Hoya Carnosa Wilbur Graves reverted, and it's freaking beautiful. I don't even care if it's reverted. These leaves are so dark, they're so thick, and the speckles on them are just adorable. I love it so much. I actually got this from Jing. I bought it from her purge, and then I also got this one from her purge. It's a Hoya Corissia or something, green. The variegated version of this is very, very, very pretty, but I can't afford it, as I think I mentioned. Did I show these in a video? I can't remember. Anyway, I feel like we've been here before. So yeah, this one is really, really pretty. The variegated, this splash silver version of this, not the variegated, the silver version of this is very pretty, but completely out of my pay grade. So I'm going to just empty, they're both rooting in perlite, and I'm just gonna put it back into my pond because it's pretty much brand new perlite and it's still good. So I'm gonna reuse it. Oh my gosh, I'm so bloated. So this next stream is, this next stream is particularly scary to me because it involves sort of sleep paralysis, but also a like paranormal experience that happened to me multiple times. If you guys watched last year's spooky repot or paranormal repot, I talked about some of the really sort of like scary things that happened to me while living at my old house, my parents' old house, and pretty much all of us, with the exception of my dad, had experienced something like really, really creepy there. And you know, I shared lots of our family stories. I threw in some footage, so if you guys haven't watched it, go give it some love because it's my least viewed video of all time. But I did decide that I wanted to do another sort of spooky repot this year, even though it's not popular on this channel, because I enjoy it and I know that there are people who love the spooks as much as I do. And you know, even if this video gets like 100 views, at least we got to experience this together. So anywho, give that video a watch. I did mention there's going to be spoilers if you haven't watched that video yet, but I mentioned a story about this very tall man that both me and my mom have seen. And I can't remember what she explained this tall man to look like, but the man that I would see at that old house he had to be at least like 6'2", 6'3", and he sort of had like what would be like a trench coat or some kind of like long pea coat or something. Like he definitely didn't look like he was from like our decade, like our time. But anyway, I would see him just sort of like walking in the halls or walking into a bedroom. It would be very, very brief, but just like full on like full figure apparition. And both my mom and I have both seen this man. So anywho, this dream that I have, I wake up in my bed. That's how it starts. I wake up in my bed, and again, full sleep paralysis, can't move. I feel like I'm choking, I can't breathe. And I see someone sitting at the foot of my bed. It's very, very dark. I can only see a shadow. And at first I think it's someone very small, like my sister at the time, or like a kid. And then I realize that this person is actually sitting. So he starts to stand, and once he stands, I realize who it is. I realize it's this man that I've seen in my house before, because same exact sort of outfit that he's wearing, same height, and just sort of like that same energy that I would get when I would see that man in my house. And he stands, and I'm still laying in bed. I can't breathe. I'm just staring at him, and I feel myself crying because I think it's from being choked. When you can't breathe, your eyes start to water, and I can feel like the tears going down my face. And he turns his head to the right, and I can see a full silhouette of his face, and he's got like a really sort of like he's got a really large jawline, like really square but like broad, like it goes out, like he has like some kind of like underbite. And he's got like a big bump over his nose, but it's like a really big nose. And then his eyes are sunken in a bit. So he's got like a very strange, not strange, he has a very peculiar type of face, the silhouette of his face, but he is just looking to the right, and he just stays like that for a really long time. And I'm just trying to move, trying to breathe, just trying to like get a hold of my body. And then he turns around. I still can't see his face. It's again really dark in the room, and he starts to come closer to me and closer to me, and he eventually gets so close, and he takes his hand and he puts it over my chest. And then at this point, I can't even try to grasp for air. It's just cut off. There's nothing. And he pushes really hard, and then I wake up. But the messed up thing about this dream is that it starts over again. When I wake up from that dream, what I feel like is I'm back in my bedroom, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God it was a dream. And I see the figure again, and it starts all over. It's like as the dream goes on, like it's like you're stuck in this loop, right? Like as it continues on, the less and less severe my like sleep paralysis is, or at least what it feels like in that dream. I can breathe a little bit more than I had like the previous time. And then eventually I get to a point where he tries to put his hand on my chest, but by then I can twitch, I can move, or I can take a breath of air, and then I like actually wake up. And I just remember I probably had this dream maybe 5 times, but the really interesting thing, and I don't know if this is a mental thing because I knew I was in that house, but I only had this dream while I was living in that house. The second that I moved out, I never experienced it again. I never experienced it again. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, I truly feel like this man, or whoever me and my mom saw, I feel like he's definitely sort of attached to not the house, but like the land that the house was on. And I always worried because he was a very like scary, it was a scary energy. Like I have had like paranormal experiences where I'll encounter like something or someone, but I won't feel scared. I won't feel like it's a threat to me. But then, you encounter some other types of like someones, and you don't feel right. Like you don't feel right in your gut. You feel scared. You feel threatened. And whenever I would see this man, I would 100% not feel right. I did have a worry that like this man or whatever would like follow me through life, but I have not had this dream. I have not seen him since I left my mom's house. That has been a blessing, because I'm telling you, if I ever saw that man again, we would have some problems. And I'm realizing that this is too small. The stem is quite long on this, and I don't really want the Hoya stem sitting on the bottom of the pot, so we're gonna try and find something a little bit taller in this darkness. I'm scared. I found this. It's not ideal, but it's a little bit taller than this one. You guys, I went thrifting a couple days ago, and I don't know who at Value Village is making the rules, but these price increases are not cute. Like I used to be able to get vessels like these for like 6 for like $3.99 or like 4 for $1.99. Now they're selling them in like pairs of 2 for like $3.99. I'm suing someone. You guys will hear from my lawyer. I just can't get over how I love this plant so much, you guys. Like there's no words to describe it. I think I like it more than the non-reverted than the regular one. But how do I want to position these leaves? Like this? Like that? Okay, let's just go like that. I'm just so glad my parents don't live there anymore, you guys, because that house was creepy. And in that video I showed you the house layout. My mom did sort of a she did like a walkthrough of the house before they moved out, and so you can kind of see the layout of everything without any furniture and stuff. It's pretty cool. It'll make you a little bit dizzy, but at least you can kind of see how creepy the house was. It was creepy for no reason. All I know is that if and when I ever own my own house, I want it to be smaller. I don't need like a big freaking mansion, nor could I ever afford one, but open floor layout for sure, not just for aesthetics, but because I want to be able to see everything with my eyeballs. I don't want those long freaking hallways. I don't need dark corners. I don't need like rooms where, you know, it's separated by a wall. I don't need any of that. I just need to be able to see everything, and I need a plant room and lots of windows and light. That's it. But like some of these like houses that they're making now, it's like, why are there so many places for ghosts to lurk? Why? Ugh, still not tall enough, but we're gonna make it work. I could make sort of like a turtleneck for it, as Alice would say, with the lazy pull strap. It's just that, do I want to exert that much energy right now? I don't know, maybe. I could try it. I could do something like this, and I think this might be actually the right size. It's not gonna be cute, but it'll at least get me some nice like roots on this stem in the meantime. It's basically just like an extension of the pole, an extension of the pot. Wow, that strap was perfect. And I'm literally just going to fill it. And I really have only done this with anthuriums and philodendrons, never with a Hoya, so this is a first. But that stem was so long. Anyway, I'm glad I really have not seen that guy in a while, nor do I have any intentions of summoning him. So if he's listening, go away. Oh my gosh, I can feel that wine. My eyes feel heavy. Do they look heavy? I don't really drink that much these days anymore because I quit vaping, and one of my hugest triggers, and the reason that I even started smoking in the first place, is because of alcohol. So when I drink, I don't know, I feel like smokers only understand this, but like when you have a drink and then you just get a little bit of nicotine, it's just the best feeling ever. Sorry, I'm not trying to promote smoking on this channel. Don't smoke. I'm not drinking that much anymore because I don't want to be triggered wanting to smoke. But guys, it's been like 2 weeks and I haven't caved, nor do I have any intention of caving. I feel so much better not smoking. Like I'm not constantly out of breath. There's like a lot of like gross things that come with smoking. One of them that I will say is like waking up in the morning or waking up in the middle of the night being like super phlegmy and just like you can't breathe and you have to like spit. It's not fun. It's not nice. It's probably just me, but I don't do that anymore. And even just like walking pudge and going back up the stairs, like I can go up the stairs now without feeling like I'm about to pass out, which is a great feeling. I'm gonna have to do a collar for this one too. This is turning into a non-spooky repot in chat. Sorry. I feel like in general this year's midnight repot is just not as spooky because it's not paranormal and it's nightmares and stuff that aren't real, but nightmares are scary when you're in them. I'm going to also inoculate this one as well as the Wilbur Graves. Please don't throw a fit. I love you both very, very much. The next two obviously are begonias. I have this Begonia lucerna that is from Lauren, which has been rooting like a dream in water. And then I also have this Begonia melachosticta from Jing. This is my second try. I killed the first one and I told myself, not again, I'm not doing that again. Okay, so this next dream is not a sleep paralysis dream, but is a dream that maybe I've had like 3 times or 2 times, definitely more than once for sure. And this one takes place at my old apartment when I was little. So we used to live, I think it was in Southside San Jose. It was like this little townhouse that I grew up in with one of my sisters. So my youngest sister wouldn't have been born yet, but I really, really loved that townhouse and it was super, super special to me. And I always want to go back there. Like I always want to visit and just like go see the townhouse again. But I just think that it would be really weird to show up and be like, I used to live here 30 years ago. But it's also it's weird because it's in a rough neighborhood, but it's like a gated townhouse, so I don't even know if I'd be able to get in. Anyway, in this dream, I am older. I'm not the age that I would have been when I was living there. I walk in the door, I drop all my stuff, and I put it down. My dad had this really, really big fish tank. Like it was huge. It took up like the entire hallway when you first walked in. I remember putting all my stuff down, looking up at the fish tank, and there was one fish in there. It was a clownfish. And I just saw a bunch of dead fish and blood everywhere. And he was just sort of like swimming around willy-nilly like nothing was wrong. And that's actually a real life story. So I think that's actually like trauma that I've held on to from when I was little. Yeah, he had this fish tank. He brought home one fish that was not gonna do well with the others. He didn't know that. And basically overnight it was like a massacre. And there was just this one fish that had remained and there was blood everywhere and it was just terrible. So in this dream that is recreated, the water is just like this orangey red color. And I'm calling out for my dad. I'm like, Dad, like, look at the fish tank. Like all the fish, they're dead. And nobody answers back. I walk into the kitchen. There's a note from my mom and it just says, gone out, be back later. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go upstairs to my bedroom and I lay down. I listen to my Walkman. I used to have this CD player and I remember sort of going through like my CDs on my wall and I picked one. I don't remember what it was. I put on my headphones and I laid down and the lights were on and everything. And then the next thing I know, I open my eyes. I'm still in my bedroom and I have a hand over me. And I think maybe it's my mom or something. And I look over to my left and it's this girl that's laying in bed with me. And she has like white, like just platinum white hair. And she looks like a little girl, like her body is a little girl, but her face is older. And her hand is like a little bit wrinkly. And she's sleeping. So I look over, I'm like stunned and startled. So I just get out of bed quickly and I run to the other side of the room and then I look at the bed and she's not there. The whole time I'm thinking like, what the hell? Like maybe I was just dreaming. I wasn't like fully awake yet. So I take off my Walkman and I remember going into our old sort of like, it was kind of like a storage room, but we kept my bird in there because we would let like my bird kind of fly around wherever it wanted to go. And I walk in and say hi to the bird. I feed the bird. As I'm walking out, my bird, which wasn't a parrot and never talked, but talked in my dream, said, "That's not very nice. That's not very nice. That's not very nice." And just over and over and over and over was repeating that. Just kind of shrugged it off, closed the door, go into the bathroom, and I brushed my teeth and I washed my face, and it was just like a cliche in the movie. I washed my face, I look up, the woman, the lady with the white hair is behind me. I turn around and she just grabs my throat and starts choking me, and then I wake up instantly. So again, I've had that dream maybe twice, maybe 3 times, but I'm glad that at least in this dream, once she gets a hold of my neck and starts choking me, at least I'm able to wake up and it's not one of those sleep paralysis things again where I'm like awake and I can't breathe. But I definitely have that image of that woman in my head. Like, I can remember what she looks like exactly, and I kind of wish someone could illustrate it for me. I do illustrate things, but I'm not good at like realism stuff. But it is kind of crazy how, like, I've only had that dream less than a handful of times, but I can remember exactly what she looks like. And anytime I wash my face in the mirror or do any kind of like skincare stuff in the mirror, I often will think about that scene. Like, I'll kind of feel like she's behind me or something. So even though, like, you know, it's just a dream, it's definitely carried on with me in my my life now. And I don't know if it's because, like, I watch a lot of scary movies and watch a lot of like messed up stuff, and I do really like the feeling of being scared. Like, you know, I do Halloween Horror Nights when I can. I watch a lot of scary movies. I like the feeling of being scared. I play scary video games, but when it comes to like real life stuff, where you're just trying to live your life and you have these images of like a older woman in a little girl's body that you think is behind you when you're washing your face, that's not the kind of scary that I am super into. Begonia lucerna is in, and it is watered immediately because begonias, if you repot them and you don't water it, they'll die. I promise you they'll die. Making progress on this massive glass of wine. We've only got 2 plants left to repot, and I actually have no more dreams to tell you about. So I guess I will tell you about some of the spooky things that have happened in this apartment specifically. Really not too much. I feel like I'm pretty lucky in that as I've gotten older, that and if you don't believe in paranormal stuff, I'm gonna sound crazy to you right now, but I feel like as I've gotten older, my sort of like third eye for things has gotten a little bit more clouded, or I don't know, like the veil between reality and whatever dimension they're living in has gotten significantly thicker. That's great, because when I was little, I definitely saw and heard a lot of shit that like I would not want to hear now. But you know, there are still the things that happen here and there. One of the more significant things that have happened, it wasn't in this unit specifically, it was at my old apartment down the hall. I can't remember what my husband and I were doing, but we were in our bedroom, and I think we had just sort of like moved things around in the bedroom because we were both in there sort of just like looking directly towards the door. And then all of a sudden our laundry doors pop open. And the reason why this is kind of scary is because the way most of our doors are in this building is it has sort of like a not a lock, but it's kind of like a click to lock or click to close. So you have to kind of like pull it open and get it past this like sort of locking mechanism so that it doesn't just like open and close freely. So it takes quite a bit of force to pull it open, and then it like clicks to close. We're standing in the bedroom and we're looking at the door, and then all of a sudden it just clicks open and just opens. The door just opens, like swings open, and we're like, okay, what the hell? But you know, my husband is a realist. He's very science-based. He doesn't believe in paranormal stuff. At least he didn't before he started dating me. Poor guy. Immediately, yes, I'm freaked out, but my husband is just like, oh, something fell. Like something fell inside of the closet that would pop it open. But we looked in the closet and nothing had fallen, nothing had moved, nothing was even close to the door. It literally just on its own popped open and swung open. It wasn't like it just popped open and then it just stayed like that. It opened. And it wasn't like a violent open, it wasn't like a slow open, it was like a very intentional, like someone like had opened it. And when I tell you that my husband was shook, because again, he's a very science-based guy, he doesn't believe really in paranormal, he always feels like there's an explanation for something. He was not okay. He was not well. And then again, I think we were going camping and we have this cart, this community cart that our building uses. It's literally like a grocery cart. I had asked him to go get the cart so that we can bring all of our camping stuff down to the car. I'm just like waiting for him to go, and I'm in the kitchen doing stuff. And then I hear a sniff, and I don't know if you guys have heard my husband sniffling in the background of some of my videos. I'm not able to edit them out all the time, but he is a sniffler. Ask my family, ask anyone he knows. My husband is a sniffler. He's a sniffly guy. And so I'm in the kitchen sort of prepping the stuff that I'm gonna pack, and then I hear two sniffs, like distinct sniffing sounds. I'm like annoyed at this point. I look up, because it would have been, our bedroom would have been this room that I'm in right now, and then the kitchen is in the same spot where it is. So I would have looked up at these windows that are next to me, and I was like, Vince, are you gonna get the cart? Like, am I gonna get the cart? Like, can you please go get the cart? And I was like fully annoyed, and he didn't answer me, and I was like, maybe he has his headphones on or something, but he's like straight up ignoring me, and I was fuming, I was pissed. And so I like storm up to the bedroom, and I'm like, Vince! And then he walks in the front door with the cart. And I was like, wait, what? I was so freaking confused because it was such a distinct two sniffs that came from this room, and I was just like, no, I heard that, I 100% heard that, to the point where I had like vocally said something to him, you know, and was like basically yelling at him. And I was like, I just heard you in the bedroom sniffling. I thought you were on your phone. He's like, no, I went to go get the cart. Like I said, I was gonna go get the cart. And it would have been, again, at that same unit, coming from the area where the door would have swung open. So that's like one thing that definitely freaked me out at that old place, because some other like smaller things had happened there, but I didn't really feel super scared, or I didn't feel like it was anything significant enough that would warrant like me to really be scared. But this time it was like such a loud, distinct sniff, and I really thought it was Vince sniffling. But to find out that I was literally in the apartment by myself, Pudge was already in the car, it definitely freaked me out. But this one is ready to go, and fingers crossed this one makes it, because I really am trying to cut and propagate this one for my mom. I don't think she has this one yet. Yeah, I would really love to propagate this for my mom before I go to California again. Last plant and last story. This is a Hoya linearis. This one was from Alice, and I think this was a last minute gift, or for sure was a last minute gift, because on my birthday, this was sort of just like in a Ziploc bag, and I had just posted a video. I forgot which one it was, either like the ones that I thought I would have killed and then the ones that I did kill, and the Hoya linearis was in that video, and I was saying how much I would love to have another cutting, and how I was saying I didn't want to say anything because I knew one of my friends would freaking chop their plants for me. And here we go. Last story about something that has happened recently in this unit, and I would say this started happening around 2020, or not 2020, like the beginning of 2021. I I don't really know what it is, but basically ever since I moved into this unit, my sleep at night has not been great. I wake up all the time, like seriously, and I know this sounds so cliche. I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. on the dot for like night after night after night after night, and this happens still to this day. In my bedroom, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I will see someone standing in my husband's bathroom. Clear as day, like, oh no, this thing got bent. Oh no. Okay, we're gonna tape it. We're gonna tape you. We're gonna tape you. Hold on. I'm going to be using some Scotch tape to repair this guy. And yes, this works, you guys. I have done it with so many plants where I just tape it so that the stem doesn't break completely. And it just continues to live on. So I've never actually done one with a plant this small. So anyway, yeah, I'll see this figure sort of just in the night, right? I stare at it and I don't really have a good, like, I really don't have good vision at all, but I know what things in my house look like at night. I know all the shadows that are supposed to be there, all the silhouettes that are supposed to be there, and this silhouette in my husband's bathroom is 100% not supposed to be there. And I will be fully awake and staring at it for a long time, trying to see if it'll move, trying to make out who it is or what it is, and never moves. It just stands there. So I see this often and it goes away when I eventually like blink enough times or enough time goes by, it'll just disappear and then I go back to sleep. But there was one time in particular where I was home alone. My husband plays basketball on Monday nights, and so I'm here by myself until about 10 o'clock, 10:30. And I had taken a nap with Pudge. I think I had gone to bed maybe around 6:30 or 7 shortly after he left. I remember waking up maybe around 9, and it was completely dark in the apartment, and I had seen the silhouette again in the bathroom. And this time I was a bit frightened because my husband wasn't with me. And the scariest part about this is when I opened my eyes and I could see the silhouette in the bathroom, Pudge starts growling. He wakes up from out of his sleep. He's looking directly where I'm looking and he's just growling. And he does this sort of bark where he knows he's not supposed to bark in the house. So he does this sort of like muffled, like grunting bark, you know, like under his breath. And he's just staring at the bathroom, just bark, doing the low bark. And all of the hair on his back is just standing up, kind of like a cat when they're scared or they're like in like fight mode or something. So that does not happen very often with Pudge. I think that was one of the only times that I had seen that on him since he was a puppy, but Pudge was just like kind of staring in that direction for a long time. And when I tell you, I turned on every freaking light in my house after that. And I texted my husband, I'm like, look, you're gonna come home early today because me and Pudge saw a freaking ghost and I don't wanna be home alone. So I literally turned on every single light in the house. I turned on the TV and I just made sure that it was like all good, happy vibes in the house. But that was like really, really terrifying because it's one thing for me to like see it myself, right? And I have a lot of doubts in myself where I'll feel like, oh, maybe I'm just half asleep or like, I do very much believe in like some other dimension that, I don't know, whether it's like paranormal or it is just like our dimensions are too close or something and we keep overlapping. I don't know what it is. I do believe that some stuff like that happens just based on the stuff that I've experienced. But at the same time, I feel like I am a realist. I believe in science and facts and tangible proof and evidence and stuff. But when you experience stuff like this that you truly can't explain and you have the rational part of your brain trying to tell you like maybe it's this, maybe it's that, sometimes like when you're in it and you're experiencing it, you're just like, no, it's a ghost. It's a freaking ghost. I'm so happy to have a linearis again. Thank you so much, Alice. You were such an angel in my life. Oh, I'm so happy. All right, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to chug the rest of this. I don't like the bottom of the wine glass. I usually don't finish it. So anyway, that is the end of this year's midnight repot. I'm sorry if it wasn't as spooky as you wanted. I think next year I will try and find a way to spook it up. I might take people's paranormal stories or find really good ones on Reddit, because I don't think that I have enough paranormal experiences to fill a whole video, but who knows what the next year will hold. Maybe some spooky things will happen that I'll be able to tell you next year, but spooky season was not what I expected it to be this year, but there's always next year, and I appreciate everyone who has just been so supportive during this sort of weird time, and now this time where I think I have arthritis and I'm just, God, my hands are just so in pain. Like, I have to just like clench them like this to like make the aching stop. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I know I always sort of have something going on with me, but that's my life. It's like a series of unfortunate events. So anywho, have a safe Halloween. Hope everyone had a good spooky season. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, because it helps Pudge and I a lot on YouTube. We love you guys so much, and we will see you in the next one.